I know life is busy, but I promise this little kitchen prep trick is worth it. Do this today and it will save you hours for the rest of the week. Hello friend, I'm Maddie if you're new here, and I'm here to help you make healthy eating easier. And today I want to show you my favorite simple trick to start the week. We are going to take all this produce and make it usable. But before we even get to any of the washing and prepping our vegetables, we need to go back just one step and make sure we do a little bit of planning. Because if you don't know what you're going to be eating throughout the week, it's going to be hard to prepare your vegetables the right way. So I like to use an app to help me. One of my favorites is called Plan to Eat. I will link that down below. I find it so helpful for the planning stages of my prep, or you can also just use something simple like the Notes app on your phone. But basically I like to pick out at least a few recipes that my family is going to be eating this week, and that will usually be based on what I already have in the fridge or in the pantry to use up. So lately, to save money, I have been getting a produce box delivered, especially with grocery prices so high right now. This is a really good way to save money. I am in Toronto, Canada, so I use one that is local for me, but I know there are a few in the US as well, so I will link all of those down below in the description box in case you want to see if there's one near you. So once a week, this produce box gets delivered right to our front door. Let's go ahead and see what we got in this week's box. So with our produce this week, I have plans to make some potato broccoli fritters for my daughter. It's a new recipe she hasn't tried, and I hope she will like them. And then I also want to do some muffins for her with some grated carrots and apples, since I have both of those in my box. And then I'm also gonna make some salads with lettuce and cabbage. So then once I have a few ideas of meals to make, I will know exactly how I want all of our veggies washed, chopped, and or cooked if needed. In addition to all of the veggies, I am also going to cook up some beans. I'm gonna do a big batch of chickpeas that can be used in a few different ways throughout the week. And since that is going to take the longest, we are actually going to start the prep there. I like to do my beans in the Instant Pot because that way it's completely hands off. I can just set them in there, go about the rest of my prep without even having to worry about the beans. And then the only other thing I need to do before I start washing and chopping our vegetables is to get our steam rack ready. As I mentioned, I'm going to cook a few of the veggies today, so I like to just prep my cooking station. Today, all we need to do is steam, so I'm getting out a big pot filled with water and a steam rack. So now is the fun part, or probably the least fun part actually, but the bulk of the work that needs to get done, and that is all of the washing and chopping of the veggies. I'm gonna turn on the stove and let that water start boiling, and then we are just gonna cycle veggies that need to be steamed in and out of this pot. So starting with the broccoli, we're gonna steam all the broccoli together first. And you can definitely steam different kinds of veggies together, but since I have each veggie planned out for a certain recipe, I don't want them mixed all together today, so it'll be easier if I just cook them all separately. But to save time, you definitely could do a big mix together if you prefer. For cabbage, you probably don't need to be as thorough as I am for washing. I know a lot of people are like, you don't need to wash the inside of cabbage, but I find it's just easier to chop the whole thing first and then wash it. So I personally find it easier, but do whatever works for you. Grating carrots has to be probably one of my least favorite prep things to do, but honestly, when you have grated carrots in your fridge, you are so much more likely to add them into salads or even into stir fries or like pasta sauces. They cook up really nicely in those. So since I needed to grate some anyway for one of our recipes, I might as well grate all of them since I have the grater out already, and that way the leftovers can just get added into other dishes this week. Now, pro tip for your grated carrots, if you don't want them to turn brown, which is just from oxidation or basically from air. So if you do want to avoid that, you can squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on there, just so long as that doesn't negatively impact any of the recipes that you're going to be using the carrots in. And then once our broccoli is done steaming, I'm just going to take all of it out and add in the zucchini in its place, and then steam those for a few minutes. And then for leafy greens, if you've seen any of my other prep videos before, you know I like to store them in a tea towel. I find that it keeps them really fresh that way. The only thing is that when I make a salad, I will need to chop them down further, or you can just tear them with your hands. But if you wanted to, you could chop some of the lettuce first so that you have it chopped and ready to use for salads, but I would maybe only chop 2 or 3 days worth at a time so that it doesn't go bad. And then the rest of the leaves you can just store like this in a tea towel, just roll it up, and you can even store this whole tea towel in a Ziploc bag like I'm doing, or you can also use a Tupperware if you prefer. And then the spinach could also be stored the same way as your leafy greens, just wrap it in a tea towel, or I have found that just in a Tupperware works perfectly fine. I like to just make sure they are pretty well dried, so either use something like a salad spinner or let them air dry for a couple hours before putting them in the fridge. And then lastly, for these potatoes, I am just going to remove any of the funky spots with my potato peeler. You actually don't have to peel your potatoes, you could just scrub them instead. But I find that peeling usually takes less time and effort than scrubbing, so I just do a very rough peel on them before chopping them up. And then those will get cubed, and we'll steam those as soon as the zucchini's done. And let me tell you, the satisfaction you will feel having all of this prep work done is so worth it. It is going to be so much easier to eat healthy this week now that I have all of these veggies washed, chopped, and some of them even cooked, so that they will be ready to add right into our meals. The only thing we're missing here is, of course, our chickpeas, which are still cooking, but that is fine. Once those are finished, I will just add those into a Tupperware and throw them in the fridge as well. And now that we have all of this beautiful produce prepped and ready to use, I am gonna make a quick little salad and show you just how easy it is to throw lunch together with some of our prepped components. I'm gonna use some of the cooked chickpeas, and then I also have some leftover cooked pasta noodles. So I'm gonna combine those together kind of for the base of this little salad here. And then I'm gonna add in some of our grated carrots from the prep, and then some of the lettuce and cabbage that we just washed as well. And then I like to top mine with a little bit of sauerkraut, pumpkin seeds, some vegan feta, and of course a dressing. Now that's actually something you could prepare during your veggie prep. If you know you're gonna be eating salads throughout the week and you don't wanna make a salad dressing every single day, make a larger batch that you can store in the fridge. I have a lot of salad dressing ideas on this channel. I'll link some of those right here. You can go check those out if you need some inspiration on how to jazz up your salads or your bowls.